How the Ty Dellandrea trade impacts Chris Tanev and Matt Duchene and their ability to re-sign in Dallas. Plus, the Stars have announced their training camp and preseason schedule. That's next and more on Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer, 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Happy Thursday, Stars fans. The NHL offseason is beginning to heat up, and the Dallas Stars dipped their toes in the water yesterday by trading forward Ty Dellandrea to the San Jose Sharks for a 2025 fourth-round pick. And that's why I want to revisit the Chris Tanev and Matt Duchene discussions. How moving on from Ty Dellandrea possibly leaves the option for Dallas to re-sign both Chris Tanev and Matt Duchene to UFAs entering the free agency period. Plus some more moves that could be on the horizon. There are some rumors percolating revolving some players and the Dallas Stars I want to let you know about on today's episode. Plus, stick to the end because the training camp and preseason schedule has been released. I'll let you know the details on that a bit later on. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. I want to begin by making a prediction. I think the Dallas Stars will re-sign both Chris Tanev and Matt Duchene. And I believe that for a couple of reasons, and I'll get into that as we meander our way through this conversation. First off, Chris Tanev is priority number one for the Dallas Stars. He's priority number one in my eyes, at least. And I'm sure General Manager Jim Nill feels the same way. And there was some really comforting news coming out of TSN Radio yesterday from NHL analyst Darren Drager. And he was asked about potential free agents that the Ottawa Senators could be in on. And he mentioned General Manager Staios, who of course is the GM for Ottawa, could be interested in Chris Tanev, but he may run into a wall because Chris Tanev wants to stay in Dallas. And the Dallas Stars want Chris Tanev to stay in Dallas as well. So that is some very, very good news. Of course, that is not confirmation, and that's not 100% concrete. But the fact that that is being thrown out into the universe is a good sign if you're a Stars fan. Plus, he mentioned that Tanev and Dallas realize they are a perfect fit. It was a match made in heaven when he was acquired at the deadline. I think you also have to take into account Chris Tanev is 34 years of age. Where does he want to be for what could be the remainder of his career? What does the number look like? What does the term look like? I think you could get away with a 2 or even 3-year deal for Chris Tanev around somewhere in the $4.5-5 million area. You're probably looking about $4 to $5 million. There are going to be some strong suitors, but Tanev may come to the realization, this is a great place for me. The culture is here. It gives me the ability to win a Stanley Cup. And does he want to uplift his family once again? And look, I know that is a conversation that he is having internally, but do they want to move somewhere else? Do they want to have to pack up and leave after already being moved in the middle of last season? That can put a lot of stress on a family, I'm sure, especially with kids. And obviously Dallas did a wonderful job of welcoming him right into the locker room. And we all know what it did for the product on the ice. So that's a very, very good sign that Tanev wants to be here. And Dallas is going to do whatever they can to keep him in Dallas. And then you're able to re-sign Thomas Harley. I'm really intrigued to see what they do with him. If they're going to give him a bridge deal like they gave to Robertson's, which was 4 years, and they gave Robo 7.7, and then they'll work on a longer deal when he reaches the age of 27. I think if you're Dallas, if you can get Harley locked up for, I'm thinking 4 to 6 years, and you don't have to worry about it down the line, which is some sort of a bridge deal, because Miro's going to be a UFA in 29-30. If you can bridge Harley maybe 31, 32, a couple years past Miro, that way you don't run into the issue of having to pay both of them in the same year, because Harley has a lot of improvement. He's shown a lot of improvement, I should say. And I think his ceiling is only going to get higher. So if you can get ahead by locking in Harley for 4 to 6 years, I think you'll really like where you're at if you're general manager Jim Nill. Chris Tanev, on the other hand, you're thinking no more than 3 years. You get him for a few more seasons. Who knows what his play is going to look like at age 36. You can't bank on him looking like Joe Pavelski for the remainder of his career. He plays a really, really tough and rugged style of game. But then you're hoping for Liam Bichsel, who's going to make the step up, and he'll be significantly contributing to your back end. And I think that's a maybe a good exit plan for Tanev. And it leaves you in the clear when you're talking about your young defenseman in Miro and Harley, Bichsel, of course. And look, Lindell is going to be a UFA at the end of this season, plus Suter. So you're going to get Suter off the books, which will give you some more wiggle room to re-sign Harley a few years down the line, and Miro, depending on what his next deal is going to look like. And this is where cap space can get all crazy, but it's something you have to take into account, because it matters so much in today's game. You have to match up on number and term and how it sets you up in the future. Tanev, of course, is a fantastic player, and he fits perfectly here in Dallas, but the number and term has to match up for it to make sense for the Stars. The great thing about Dallas, and we've seen it in years past, you look at players like Patrick Sharp, who came to Dallas after a lengthy career in Chicago. Joe Pavelski, of course, is the most recent. The culture and the lifestyle that they're able to have here in Dallas is pretty appealing, and maybe very appealing for someone like Chris Tanev, who played in Calgary for a number of years, and the microscope that you're under in a place like Canada. Dallas is about the opposite. So it's a great place to raise a family, of course. It's a great place to play hockey, and he's already seen the ability for the Stars to be a cup contender, which obviously plays into the hand of himself and Dallas. I think there's some leverage there for the Stars to be able to get Chris Tanev. And moving on from Ty Dellandrea can stink in multiple ways. He's obviously just 23 years of age. He was a first-round pick. You hate having to move on from someone like that, because he still has some upside, and he could be a fixture in the bottom six for 3 to 7 years, somewhere like Radek Faksa, right? And I know there's a lot of conversation revolving around moving off of Radek Faksa rather than Dellandrea, and you may have not gotten market value for Dellandrea as well. And most of the discourse, and thank you for the feedback, by the way, revolving around Dellandrea was, yeah, good luck. He gets an opportunity to play every day over in San Jose, a ton of minutes for him. It really did not make sense, I think, for both parties for him to return, even though I think it's still a good situation if he did return to Dallas. But he gets the opportunity to play every day. But it also is another forward Dallas doesn't have to re-sign, and it opens up some more money and more room for them to sign somebody like Chris Tanev and Matt Duchene. And that's why I think moving on from Ty Dellandrea gives Dallas the opportunity to re-sign Matt Duchene as well. I think that is the first chess piece move from the Stars in order to get Duchene back in the building. And I believe that for a number of ways as well, pretty similar to Chris Tanev and why Dallas wants to re-sign Matt Duchene, get him back into the building, and you have to feel pretty good about your roster makeup. So I think Dellandrea is just a piece in the puzzle for the Stars. You move on from him, you get a pick, and look, it's not going to reap any rewards here in the next few years, but it's one less mouth to feed. You pretty much give a 90 to 95% chance you're going to re-sign Sam Steele. He's arbitration eligible as well at 26 years of age. And as much as it pains me to say it, Dellandrea is someone that you can replace. He is a replaceable player. He's a role player. And you could play devil's advocate and say, hey, he's 23 years of age. There's a lot of hockey under his belt, and who knows, maybe he impacts your top 9 at a pretty significant level down the line. But where Dallas is at this point in time, with Maverick Bourque making the jump up, and you have Johnston and Stankoven, you have really, really valuable pieces that you can build around. And I don't know if Dellandrea is the piece that the Stars are looking at as the pieces they want to put around those type of players, because Dellandrea is fourth line, gives you hard minutes. He plays hard. He's not overly big, doesn't play a very physical style of game. I think Dallas is looking to beef up, especially in the bottom 6, and they want some more scoring. Pizza Bohr loves guys that can produce, and Sam Steele produced last season. Ty Dellandrea did not. And I think Dallas wants to go in another direction. So let's segue into Matt Duchene and why I think Chris Tanev wanting to stay in Dallas has a lot of the same reasons for Matt Duchene staying here in Texas. And we'll discuss that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. It's the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Download the Gametime app on your smartphone. It's available on the App Store. It's available on the Google Play Store. Gametime saved me a ton of harassment for next week when I'm going to Boston and I'm going to Fenway Park to watch a Red Sox game. I went to the Gametime app. I clicked on Fenway Park, clicked on the game I wanted to attend, and it gives you zone deals. You get the view from your seat before you buy it. Fenway Park can be a little funky. You got some poles. It's an old ballpark. You don't want to have any obstructions. I made sure to get a clear view of the playing surface, and I got it quick and easy, just a couple of taps. I know exactly what I'm getting when I get there, and it took all the guesswork out of buying tickets. And it doesn't just work for MLB tickets. It works for other sporting events. It works for concerts, theater, comedy, you name it, they have it. So take the guesswork out of getting tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I've been on the record over the last few weeks of being okay with moving on for Matt Duchene for a number of reasons, but none bigger than 6 points in the postseason, 6 points in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Because Matt Duchene came to Dallas in order to get them over the hump and to have big moments in the postseason. And that did not quite happen this year. But I also understand the position Duchene and Dallas is in. And this is where I get into the similarities of Tanev and Duchene. Duchene was a perfect fit for the Stars. He was a perfect fit for Tyler Seguin and Mason Marchment, a duo that Dallas could not find someone to plug in with them that worked consistently. If you get Duchene to re-sign, it gives you at least 2 lines from a year ago that you're rolling into next season with. And that would be Johnston, Ben, and Stankoven, plus Duchene, Seguin, and Marchment, of course. There's 2 lines that you had a season ago that you know were impactful and you know are going to be productive for you next season. And this also comes from the ability of having a little bit more money with possibly moving on from Ty Dellandrea. Maybe they want to move on from Radek Faksa as well. Some potential trade targets that I want to get into on tomorrow's episode of Free Agent Friday. There was a rumor percolating about Dallas being interested in William Carrier, and that came from Elliot Freeman on the Jeff Merrick show a few days ago. Carrier is someone I glossed over last Free Agent Friday, and he has a projected salary of roughly $2 million. He's a bottom 6 player, a +2 defensive rating, -3 offensive rating. He's just 29 years old. He's a left winger. He would obviously be reuniting with Pete DeBoer, so DeBoer knows what he's getting. Over the last 3 years, he's earned 59% of the goals and expected goals and the second best relative impact in the league. That needs to be taken with a massive grain of salt considering his usage. He's likely not a top 6 caliber player, which is something Dallas is not going to be looking for in free agency for the most part, at least in terms of what they can actually make happen and realistic options. Carrier would be a realistic option at roughly $2 million. And I think if you re-sign Duchene, you have to really like where you are set up front. And I'm just throwing the names out here. Here's your 14 forwards. Hence, Stankoven, Robertson. You have Johnston, Ben, Dadonov, Duchene, Marchment, Seguin, Steele, Bork, Faksa. Carrier would be your 13th forward, and then Craig Smith would be your 14th forward if you re-sign Craig Smith. I think that's a really, really nice forward group that Pete DeBoer can work with. Plus, you get Carrier that adds some size. Faksa is someone that would probably be the odd man out most nights. The issue with Faksa is I think Pete DeBoer and Dallas really like him. Doesn't mean they won't move off of him, but I think Pete DeBoer and Jim Null have to come to the realization that Radek Faksa was not impacting the game in the Stanley Cup playoff. He wasn't impacting the game the way you would want him to. The fourth line, for the most part, in that Edmonton series was completely obsolete. Bringing in someone like Carrier with Stanley Cup pedigree, he gives you some beef up front as well. And he plays a really, really strong game. And he's a really, really strong forechecker. That's one thing you can knock on Faksa because of his lack of speed and pace. You could tell the game was too quick for him against Edmonton. Carrier is a really, really strong forechecker, and you can surround him with guys like Sam Steele or Dadonov even that gives you a little pace. So it gives you a forward that you can have some versatility with, and you're not looking to play a top 6 role, even a top 9 role, even though you may be able to slot him in there. And that's why I think Dallas will be able to re-sign Matt Duchene and Chris Tanev. Not just because of Ty Dellandrea being traded. I think it gives them a better opportunity to do so. But Matt Duchene realizes this was a perfect fit in Dallas. Plus, you look at the centers on the free agent market. I don't know how many of them Dallas is going to be interested in. There are some very good players, but they're mostly guys you would slide into your top 6. And at this point, Dallas is pretty crowded, especially down the middle. And I'm going to look into free agent centers tomorrow. So be sure to check out tomorrow's episode of Free Agent Friday. I'm going to touch on some of the names that will be available in free agency, but the Stars know Duchene works. Duchene knows it works. Do they really want to go out and take a flyer on somebody else and bring in that? There always is a conversation to be had. Is it going to be a fit? Is this going to be the right place for that certain player? Does he work in our locker room? Duchene knows he works in the locker room. He's a leader. And I think that entices Dallas to re-sign Duchene, even though I've been on the record that I'm okay with moving on from him. But my prediction is they get Duchene and Tanev done with some pretty friendly deals. I think you can get Duchene somewhere 3.5, maybe give him a little push up after a really nice season. But you have to factor in that Dallas is on the hook for a $2 million bonus for Joe Pavelski from this past season. So they're still on the hook from that. So the number is going to have to make sense and term. I'd be surprised if Duchene wants to sign a 1-year prove-it deal again, but he is 34 years of age. Does he really want to do that? Who knows? Maybe he likes Dallas enough where he's willing to do that, and somewhere around what Joe Pavelski did the first couple seasons, just a couple years, and then, of course, he signed a longer extension towards the end of his expiring deal. So there is where I stand on the Chris Tanev and Duchene situation, and how even the acquisition of William Carrier possibly would, I think, really, really sure up your bottom 6 with the departure of Ty Dellandrea. And I want to get into Radek Faksa and the possible trade targets for him, because there are some really, really intriguing options out there. You're not going to get some guy you're going to plug into your top 4, but you can get some depth pieces that could really sure up your back end. And we'll do that more tomorrow on Free Agent Friday. So stick around for that. I think I have a few names that Stars fans should be keeping on their mind. And I think Dallas could make a run at, maybe in the offseason or even at the deadline at some point next season. Alrighty, let's switch over to some preseason schedule talk. The training camp and preseason schedule has been released by the Dallas Stars. I'll tell you about it in just a moment. Hey, Stars fans, I want to take a moment to bring up one of our partners, the mobile game Ultimate Hockey GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NHL GM and managing your hockey franchise? Do you think you could run the Stars better than the current GM? That's what we're trying to do on Locked On Stars, but it probably won't work. Your dream can come true, however, and this game is most definitely for you. Ultimate Hockey GM. Manage every strategic aspect of your team. Play through the seasons, lead it to glory, hire the right coaches and staff, trade players, draft picks, navigate through free agency and the draft, all in challenging and a realistic game world. As a Stars fan, you know there is no off seasons. That's why we're talking about it every single day here on Locked On Stars. GMs are constantly making moves. In Jim Nill, we trust. Ultimate Hockey GM is a completely free and playable offline game. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. Locked On Network listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On NHL. in the game store. So make sure to check it out. Download the game. Just visit hockeygm.app, or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate Hockey GM, start your dynasty today. So the Dallas Stars have released their training camp and preseason schedule this afternoon. The Stars will play in a total of 6 preseason contests, including 3 games at American Airlines Center. Dallas will open its exhibition slate with a home contest against the St. Louis Blues on Saturday, September 21st. The Stars will also be holding training camp September 18th through the 21st at Comerica Center in Frisco. A complete schedule for training camp will be released at a later date. And of course, that is different from holding training camp the last few seasons in Cedar Park. So it will be in Frisco in North Texas. We'll let you know if it will be open to the public and all that good stuff as well later on when those dates and times get released and they are more concrete. So taking a look at the 6 exhibition games for the Dallas Stars, I'll go ahead and give you some times and some dates on those. As I mentioned, Saturday, September 21st at the American Airlines Center against the Blues, 6 o'clock is puck drop for the opening night of preseason. Monday, September 23rd in Colorado at Ball Arena, 8 o'clock puck drop there. Wednesday, September 25th, the Minnesota Wild come to town. 7 o'clock puck drop on that one. Friday, September 27th, they take on Colorado at home at the American Airlines Center. 7 o'clock puck drop for that as well. Then they hit the road for the final 2 preseason games, beginning in Minnesota at the XL Energy Center, September 29th. 5 o'clock puck drop for that one. Thursday, October the 3rd, to close out the preseason at the Enterprise Center against the St. Louis Blues at 7 o'clock. So 6 Central Division rivals and 6 preseason games there for the Dallas Stars. So how about that? Training camp will be held at the Comerica Center in Frisco from September 18th to the 21st. And there are your 6 preseason games for the Dallas Stars. It says all Stars home preseason games will go on sale to the general public at a later date. Dallas Stars Victory Club members and insider and fans who download it or currently have the official Dallas Stars app will receive a pre-sale to purchase tickets before the general public. Victory Club memberships and half memberships are available now. Fill out an interest form to get more information. So there you go. Just some more details for you in case you're interested in going to some of those preseason games, which are usually a hoot. I will say the first 3 or 4 preseason games, you're going to see more. You're going to see more your Texas Stars, some of your depth in the minors, and those last 3 or 4, you're going to get more of what the roster may look like for the Stars. So if you want to plan your preseason schedule accordingly to that, usually the final 3 games, and I know they're on the road for 2 of those games, but that last game, the last home game of the preseason against Colorado at the American Airlines Center is September 27th. And usually you start to see the roster in this preseason game resembles more of what you may see on opening night. So that may cause some more intrigue in that game if that's what you're looking for. But there is your training camp and preseason schedule. It's just 93 days away, which is pretty hard to believe. The Stars play deep into the postseason once again for the 2nd straight season. And look, the NHL draft is 8 days away. Free agency, NHL awards. It's just all this stuff is happening along with the Stanley Cup final. It's crazy that the Oilers and Panthers are still playing this deep into the summer. It'd be wild if the Stars were, albeit it would be for a great reason. And I would be super excited. But it doesn't allow you for almost a grace period before it all starts to heat up again. And you saw teams are said, hey, we got to make some moves. We're trying to find some cap space. And speaking of cap space, there are some really interesting potential trade targets on some players with expiring deals in places that I think the Stars could go after and could involve Radek Faksa or even Niels Lundqvist. I think Lundqvist may be a part of some of those packages. We talked with Uri a couple of weeks ago about Rocco Gudis. I think there are a couple others that I want to put out into the universe that could make their way to Dallas and shore up that back end. We're always looking for defensemen, right? And there's a few names that I've put a pin on that I would love to share. So we'll do that on tomorrow's episode, and as the next week rolls on. Alrighty, that'll do it for this Thursday edition of Locked On Stars. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. We'll see you tomorrow for Free Agent Friday. We're taking a look at the top centers in free agency. See you tomorrow. So long, Stars fans.